High on Life 2 is one of the dumbest games I've ever played. And that's a good thing. You see, not every game needs to be packed with the greatest graphics you've ever seen, a million things to do, and a 100+ hour story. Sometimes, all a game needs is to be moderately fun and moderately interesting for a short amount of time. And honestly, sometimes that's enough. High on Life 2 never really promised the world, and it's not even that much better than the first game, but it is more of the same, and so it's easy to recommend if you mess with the first one. A short intro for a short game, so today, let's talk about High on Life 2. What works, what doesn't, and why High on Life 2 is kinda dumb, but also kinda good. Before we begin, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that like button and please consider subscribing to see more content like this. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Every single one of y'all helps out. Yeah, back to the video. First up, let's talk about this game's world. Look, to be honest, there is not much here to talk about. When it comes to video games and their worlds, High on Life 2 is about as cut and dry as you can get when it comes to its world. It's very old school, and the fact that the game is essentially entirely linear. There's one hub-like area, but it's not very big, and there isn't much to do inside it other than hunt for collectibles. But, to be honest, I'm completely okay with a world like this for a game like this. Due to the world's linearity, Squanch Games, the developers, could get pretty creative with how each level is built out, and I think without a doubt, the color palette and theme of this world is fantastic. The world is very 70s retro future inspired, with the swirly colorful carpets, the bulbous dumbass looking aliens, and the vibrant colors. I may not have been alive in the 70s, but I can tell this game is trying to invoke those retro, arcade style feelings, albeit with updated graphics. Speaking of the graphics, I will say this game is much improved in this aspect over its predecessor. High on Life 1 came out in 2022, and even for its time, I felt as though the graphics were a little dated. Now, 4 years later, the graphics are much improved. Squanch Games isn't bashing you over the head with the most amazing ray-traced reflections you've ever seen or a billion particles on your screen at any given time, but everything here still looks good. The aliens are highly detailed, each level has great detail, and I really do think the vibrance and color sets this game apart from others. Moving on from the graphical design itself and talking about the actual content in the world, I think it's a little hit or miss. One thing you cannot take away from Squanch is that they are some creative MFs. There were multiple levels in this game that I genuinely had fun exploring because they were just so unique and creative. Without spoiling too much, one level has you in the middle of what this game calls Con, the convention. As you can expect, due to the wacky and zany nature of the game, all of the conventions within the bigger convention are so stupid and dumb that I couldn't help but laugh at how they came up with these. It's creativity like that I really appreciate. We've talked about the hits, now let's talk about the misses. In my opinion, as much as I can commend the world design and creativity, there isn't much to see or do off the beaten path in any of these worlds. Now, I get that this is a linear, level-based game, an homage to the FPSs of the 90s and 2000s, but still, aside from the odd collectible here or there, and even in the hub world, there just aren't very many meaningful or funny conversations to be had, something that I think this game could have greatly benefited from. Again, there's a lot of creativity here. A lot of the world designs are truly so fun and engaging. I just wish they had expanded upon this idea a little more to really flesh out the world beyond the game's yellow brick road, so to speak. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of the world is the traversal. Now, this is more of a gameplay idea, but I think it's so ingrained into the world design that I think it's more fair to talk about it here. I'm talking about the new movement mechanic, the skateboard. And honestly, it's really well done. Now, instead of sprinting when you press the shift key on PC, you whip out a skateboard and start skating around the level. Every aspect of every level is built for you to be able to skateboard on. There are grind rails on every staircase, half pipes, ramps, and many more ways for you to traverse around with the board. In addition to that, the skateboard is momentum based, so if you're really killing it and you're grinding on rails and you're going down ramps, you can build up some serious speed. There's also some fun parkour challenges that you can engage with throughout the game using the skateboard, and it's also pretty crucial in combat, but we'll get into that later. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention about the world is the performance of the game. It's incredibly rough. The game is not a graphical powerhouse, and yet, with a 9800 X3D and a 5090, I struggle to get over 60 FPS in certain areas. For a first-person shooter, especially a first-person shooter that looks like this, that type of performance is unacceptable. Couple that with the multitude of crashes I had during my playtime, this type of performance is simply not okay. I really hope Squanch Games addresses the performance in the next couple of patches, because right now it is simply not good enough. Overall, man, I know I seem like I like the world that Squanch built quite a bit, and I do, but at the same time, there hasn't been much innovated on from the first game. The creativity within each level is there, and I have to commend that, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like they've made much of an effort to improve the scope or scale or what they've tried to accomplish with this game. Something that sequels frequently try to do. I didn't expect this game to go open world or anything, and the innovations that are here are pretty cool, like the skateboard, but at the same time, these were the same complaints I had for High on Life 1, and unfortunately, they didn't really address any here. Moving on, let's talk about High on Life 2's gameplay. Now, without a doubt, I can confidently say that this is the best aspect of the game for me. The actual first-person shooting itself, with the various unique weapons, the pretty cool set pieces and level designs, and just the sheer variety in some of the missions is honestly really cool, and I really mess with it. I think without a doubt, once again, Squanch Games' creativity within the gameplay department was shown in full force here, and it is the strongest part of the gameplay. Their first-person shooting is still really solid. It's definitely a step below the behemoths of the genre like Call of Duty and Battlefield technically, but it makes up for it in some pretty cool bosses, and of course, the dumb but funny and unique guns known as Gatlians. Each Gatlian, in addition to having its own personality, is a unique type of weapon with a unique ultimate ability. These abilities not only are useful in battle, but are frequently used in short but pretty easy environmental puzzles that help break up some of the monotony of shooting. The shooting itself is a little squishy, it's definitely not as precise or as satisfying as Call of Duty or Battlefield, but it gets the job done, and to me, that's okay. The main star of the show when it comes to the gameplay is the level variety. Even though this game is a first-person shooter at its core, and it comes with all the typical first-person shooting stuff like boss fights, hordes of enemies, etc., there's a lot of creativity and uniqueness in each individual level. Without spoiling once again, there's one mission that was straight up a murder mystery. There was no shooting involved. It was my job to find out who murdered a prominent figure, and it wasn't just as cut and dry as talking to each of the suspects and then deducing an answer. This mystery involved me talking to the suspects and then actually searching for clues and piecing together the story. There were red herrings all over the place, and so it was important to truly consider what mattered and what didn't. It was such an unexpected, but such a creative and refreshing change of pace, and I loved it so much. This murder mystery mechanic was never used again, but in subsequent levels, other interesting gameplay ideas took its place. Every single level felt like it had something new to offer me gameplay-wise, and I really liked that. Beyond the sheer creativity, the addition of the skateboard once again provided a solid upgrade to the gameplay. The skateboard is almost a necessity now with the sheer amount of enemies fighting you at any given point, and it greatly increased the speed of combat. It was fun to glide around the arenas, picking people off with my weapons, and then skating right up to a dude and knocking his ass out with my board. In terms of progression, there is none. There's some upgrades here or there for your weapons that you can unlock by spending your cash that you collect at the end of every mission, but there is nothing beyond that. And to be honest, that's completely fine with me. I don't need every game to have the deepest progression system I've ever seen with tons of skills and ways to build out my character. This game isn't an RPG, and I don't want it to be one. So yeah, in case you can't tell, I'm pretty high on High on Life 2's gameplay. It's just straight up fun. It's not too deep, there aren't a million systems at play, and there's no real progression, but that's what makes the gameplay so great and relaxing. I don't have to think too much. After a long day at work, I could just come home, throw this game on, mow down some aliens, and maybe engage in a cool gameplay system here or there, and that's all I need. The last aspect of this game I want to talk about is the story. Now I think, unfortunately, this is where the game falls the flattest. High on Life 2 is a franchise that already has a niche player base. In order for you to like this game, you have to enjoy the comedy that this game puts forth. And I am one of those people. The original High on Life was so zany and just so unbelievably dumb in its premise that I just couldn't help but kind of love the story. The talking guns were really funny, and they were rambly, sure, which would get annoying, but they made up for it with some seriously hilarious premises and interactions throughout the game. High on Life 2 tries to replicate that same wackiness, but does so in a very lazy way, by essentially rehashing the premise of the first game. High on Life 1's premise is that the Earth is invaded by a bunch of aliens, and an alien cartel known as the G3 cartel are packaging humans and selling them as drugs for other aliens to get high. It's an incredibly dumb premise, but it works because the comedy is there and you're experiencing this new and weird world for the first time. The game follows you dismantling the G3 cartel by taking out all of their top members. High on Life 2's premise is a direct continuation of the first game with the same characters, weapons, and ideas, and this time, instead of an illegal cartel, it's a perfectly legal big pharma company turning humans into tablets for other aliens to take. So, your job, you guessed it, is to take out all of the top members of the pharma company to stop this from happening. Aside from the fact that we've already seen this premise once before in the first game, High on Life 2 is just also more serious than the first game. Don't get me wrong, it is still incredibly dumb and you get into some of the stupidest situations I've ever seen in a video game, but yet the dialogue isn't as funny, the guns don't ramble as much, the story itself feels much more serious. And I think this really hurts the game in this department. Going into this game, I knew nothing about the world or what the story would entail. And so I was pleasantly surprised when I found out it was a direct continuation of the first with the same main characters and everything like that. I was excited to see where they could take the story and what other dumbass ideas would be brought into this dumbass world. But I was sorely disappointed to find the same dumbass ideas in the same dumbass story from the first game. In comedy, every comic knows that the same joke will not land the same twice. And unfortunately, High on Life 2 attempts to land the same joke as its predecessor, and it just doesn't hit the same. Overall, man, I'm pretty mixed on High on Life 2. At times, I was having a lot of fun in its short 9-hour run. When I was encountering new gameplay ideas and was remembering all the stuff that happened in the first game, I was genuinely having a good time. But during the back half of this game, I really struggled to enjoy it. The gameplay was still pretty good, but the lack of exploration outside the main levels, and especially the samey story, really started to bog down my playthrough. And what was excitement in the first 5 or so hours turned into boredom in the back 5 or so hours. This game is $60 on Steam, and for that price, I would be hard pressed to recommend this game to anyone, even if you were a fan of the first one. But if you're an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, the game is available day one, and surprisingly, on Game Pass, I would recommend this game to anyone who likes first-person shooters. It's a solid 10 or so hour experience that you can grind through in a week, have fun, and move on to the next title. For Squanch Games as a whole, I think the creativity that this studio possesses is honestly very unique. They have genuinely cool and unique ideas that the gaming industry has not really seen before, but I get the sense that Squanch is much more creative idea first, and gameplay and world building second. Squanch has the potential to truly break through in this gaming industry as a developer known for their creative ideas on comedy. They just have to nail the execution of the world building and gameplay elements that make a game worth playing. Only time will tell if they're able to live up to their expectations. Either way, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below your thoughts on High on Life 2. Do you like it as much as the first game? Do you not like it as much as the first game? Did you never even play the first game and you got into this one? I'd love to know everything y'all have to say down in the comments below. Again, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that like button and please consider subscribing to see more content like this. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Every single one of y'all helps out, and I thank you for all the love and support y'all have shown me throughout these years. Yeah, guys, it's been CGG. I'm out.